Pluto has a dominating force over every timeline, okay? Pluto is an outer planet. And because it is an outer planet, it rules how we show up in the time continuum. So, because Pluto left Capricorn into Aquarius, our power dynamics, the way that we express power, the way that we obtain power, the way that we use power, it cannot come from Capricorn instinct. It has to come from Aquarius instinct. If we use power from Capricorn instinct, everything's going to be fucked up. You're going to have problems because this is a point of evolution that we are at. I may have gotten good and you may have gotten good at utilizing power through Capricorn. But we're going to have to face and surrender to the ego death that has us attached to what we're used to in finding our power, in using our power, in asserting our power. It can't be through Capricorn. Understand? And Capricorn has the demeanor when it utilizes its power to be quite cold, blunt, militant, giving marching orders, not asking but telling niggas what to do. Okay? We are past that frequency. We are past that level. And one clear way of knowing that, look at the youth. These days, you try to tell youth what to do without selling the idea to them, you're going to have a hard time. They're not like the generation of the 60s, 70s, and 80s babies or early 90s, all right, where we didn't question our parents. We didn't ask why. We didn't ask what. When they told us to do something, that was it. You get it done or you get knocked the fuck out, okay? That's how we was raised. But those who came in the 2000s on forward, they was coddled, they was compromised with, they were reasoned with, they were given options and all this other stuff, okay? But we who were born in the Pluto, Virgo, Libra, Scorpio transits, okay? Those who were born during those time periods, we got marching orders. Things were a whole lot different, okay? So we're at the point of evolution where power no longer works that way. You can't go nowhere without power. What you gonna do? Okay, you got all these devices and gadgets, but nowhere to plug it up. You can't charge your battery. Where you going without power? So this is a lesson that we don't have an option. We have to learn. This means you have to get good at selling your ideas, selling your objectives. You have to get good at negotiating and reasoning, debating or arguing with wisdom. Arguing is very healthy, but not if you get aggressive. You could be assertive in your argument, but not aggressive. One thing we're not allowed to show in this generation is aggression. Aggression no longer flies. Take me as an example. You can use me. You can look at me. I have a lot of aggression in my spirit. All right? South Node, Sagittarius moon. Okay? South Node Sagittarius, South Node moon. I'm coming from lifetimes of fiery expression, aggression. Okay? I have Mars conjunct the sun, aggressive. You know what I mean? I'm straight out of New York, aggressive. But I can't use that as an excuse. I have to grow and I have to evolve. I have to learn to get wiser with how I use my power. I come from the days and I come from the environments in New York or whatever, you may be able to relate to, but I come from the generations where men had to push their weight around. Fists could get flying. Shit could get real touchy. Aggression was a way to move your way around. That's not so anymore. Those are the old days. We can't use that energy no more. So now I have to repurpose that fire, repurpose that aggression. I have to retrain it. Otherwise, I won't make it. I won't survive. So it's the same for you as it is for me, but in your way. So when Pluto left out of Capricorn, that was tying up how we were relating to our power through Capricorn. Aquarius requires a keen awareness of the freedom and autonomy of others, the free will of others, the freedom of others' expression and visions, the value of others' visions and input, the contributions of others, the talents and gifts of others. Aquarius. There has to be negotiation, compromise, and cooperation. So with transferring our power dynamics into Aquarius, it's not easy. And as I'm going to explain in this discourse, there's some things that gotta die. We are taming the wild horse so we can saddle the horse to ride off into the sunset of our adventures, our mission, our destiny, our purpose. But look what we had to learn along the way to get there. It's a transfer of power from Pluto to Aquarius. You can see this in the collective. Centralization of government. It's over. Look at Donald Trump. He's having a hard time coming from that old school Capricorn delivery of power. You know what I mean? He think he could be Billy Badass, walk around with the snakeskin boots and a cowboy hat, you know, telling niggas what to do, talking shit. You know what I mean? Being arrogant, trying to overpower, dominate, and whatever. It will never work. He can try it, but it'll never work. And all world leaders, especially France, America, right now, they're getting disillusioned by Pluto. And the disillusionment is the way I used to use power doesn't work anymore. I can no longer intimidate people. I can no longer boss people around. I can no longer overtalk people and overshadow people. I can no longer dominate and try to control or subject people to my nipples. You know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is I can no longer say, hey, I'm gonna give you $1 billion. Yeah, we're friends. Ha 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 ha. You know what I mean? And you got that little greasy ass smile. All right, nigga, why you want to give me $1 million for what? What you want to give me $1 billion for? You want to make me a slave? You want to put me in debt to you? You want to give me something so you can come back later and say I owe you something? Nah, nigga, I'm good. Look at Burkina Faso. Ibrahim Traore. He has transferred his power from Capricorn to Aquarius. He's the best living example of what that looks like. Ibrahim Traore don't beat on his chest and going from nation to nation, power figure to power figure, you know, throwing his muscle around. He has never spoken an aggressive word, but yet he's assertive. He's assertive with his identification for Burkina Faso, for his country, for their nation, for their independence. He's assertive, but not aggressive. He makes peace everywhere he goes. He wins friendships everywhere he goes. He has the support of the whole world, except for France and America, who want to dig in their pockets and have advantage over the minerals and land. Look at the bully tactics that Trump tried with Ramaphosa, the president of South Africa. He invited him to the Oval Office, and he thought he was going to bully him in the corner, but really, the American people and African people all over the world was able to see through the bullshit. Like, you try to bully this nigga, but you end up looking stupid because you ain't even verified the shit that you talking about. You trying to hold him accountable to things that's not even true. The video footage wasn't even of South Africa. It was video footage of the Congo. He ass backwards. The universe is not going to support you if you coming from that spirit, if you coming from that energy. You have to have the wisdom to win the agreement of others. You have to be able to sell a vision. You have to be able to show the picture, to paint the picture, to sell the product. You have to win through friendships. The 11th house is ruled by Aquarius. The 11th house is a house of what? Of friendships. It's a house of friendships, not enemies. Our wisdom is proven by how many friends we can win, how many comrades we can win, not how many enemies we create as we go throughout the earth, as we go through the community, as we go through the world. Severing ties, burning bridges. That's one of the lessons that many are going to learn at the Venus conjunct Chiron, is about burnt bridges. Jupiter is there to intercept those who surrender to those lessons. I know you burned bridges. I know you was toxic. I know you was projecting. You had childhood trauma to heal and you was trying to make other people responsible. I understand, you get it now. But you know what? We're going to help you out. We're going to give you another chance. Don't even worry about it. We're going to heal and we're going to forgive. We're going to move forward. The point now is that we have to have the wisdom, the skill, the personality, the sincerity, trustworthiness, the presence, right? We have to use all of our energies and forces to win people, to secure relationships that make us more powerful, connections that make us more successful. Not domination, backhanded actions and secret, going on dirty missions. Corruption. Corruption will not win you power anymore. That was with Capricorn. Capricorn is an energy of corruption. Aquarius requires transparency. It is clear water poured from a gourd. The water bearers. That's transparency. Transparency in connections. The connection is the water. We all need water. Who can go without water? Who can be an enemy to water? Who can live without water? So we all have something that we all can't live without. And we bring it together with transparency, selling what the contract should look like, negotiating what the contract should look like. No force, no control, no domination, no oppression, no slick moves, no manipulation, no corruption. Just the confidence of deals made with wisdom. So this is the bigger picture of where we're headed. And I'm going to explain how all this comes together with the Aries Chiron conjunct Venus transit. Understand? Go ahead right now, hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe also, hit the notification so that you know when a video drops. Help me out with the algorithm. If you're here listening, if you're benefiting from the message, the videos, there's no Cash App stickers up here. There's no PayPal stickers. Nobody's asking you to make a payment for the video. You watch for free. The least you could do is hit the like button. The least you could do is share and subscribe. The least you could do is comment to make the algorithm get busy. Understand? Be supportive. Be a community. Pull your weight, do your part. I'm showing up, you got to show up too. That's how this works. Understand? June 1st, we have Venus coming into conjunction with Chiron. And this is loaded with opportunity and relief, but not without just a little bit of pain, necessary pain. It's the adjustment of the broken arm. take off the bandage, to clean the wound. There could be a little pain in there, a little sting. We're willing to tolerate pain, more so, when we know the intention, when we know what's behind it. When we don't know what's behind it, we could easily panic. You know, a dog will give you grace, right? Where he has an injury, maybe he stepped on a thorn in his paw. And if he doesn't know you or he doesn't trust you and you reach for that injury on his paw, that dog is going to bite you. He's going to get really aggressive as you reach for it. It's a natural instinct. We all do the same thing. But when we know the intention and there's trust and what's happening, what's occurring, we give some grace. If it's my dog, if the dog knows me or the dog trusts me, I build a little rapport. Give him a little snack, pat him on the head, talk to him nice, and I reach for the paw that's injured. It's still going to be painful to him. He's going to cry. He's going to start licking his hand, licking my hand. But he's going to let me do it. Because he knows what I'm there to do. To take the thorn out of his paw. So, here's what's coming on the first. It's a little jolt of pain. But after this discourse, hopefully, we understand what that pain is serving. It's a healing. Healing is painful. But if you could tolerate that process, on the other side is victory. Aries is where we've been having the lack of trust in ourselves, disappointment, that drag, the slumped shoulders, you know? I don't know, I don't feel like myself. I'm not good enough. This always happens to me. I never get my chance. Why do I keep running into this rejection? And my intentions are so sincere. I mean well. But I still keep getting the same results. I reach for it, it gets close enough, and it just falls apart. The disappointment, the rejection, the sense of failure, inadequacy. Every one of us are feeling this right now. Guaranteed. We're all feeling out of place. Like what you're here to do, who you know you're here to be. It's like I can't reach it. I know what I'm made of. I know what I'm capable of. But something won't let me do it. Something won't let me have it. And it hurts. It hurts to live. It hurts to exist. Because that is the reason why I live, is the reason why I exist. And if I can't have that, life is simply painful. Life is just one long disappointment. I get it. So, let's investigate this. Let's look into it. First thing to consider is that the Cancer Mars transit, it allowed us to heal circumstances with the inner child, relatives, loved ones, relationships across the board. It showed us where we were projecting the inner crisis of pain, disappointment, resentment, anger, animosity, insecurities. We were projecting it outwards. It showed up all around us. And we made others accountable for what we should have been accountable for in ourselves as a healing commitment. Okay? We addressed that through that Cancer Mars retrograde. For 7 to 9 months, we were doing that work. Mars is in Leo, reconnecting us with our strongest expressions. And that part is what makes it so painful. What's taking place at Aries with Chiron is that the inner child wants to express through that Mars. It's asserting that expression, but it can't find the nipple. It can't find the stage. It can't find the platform that it expresses from. It can't seem to connect to that reality. So it's like you're bending the water hose. The water's building up and the pressure is there inside of itself. This is what I want to express. This is who I am, but I can't find a way to do it. And it amplifies the pain at Aries, because Aries is what we're supposed to do. The house that Aries occupies, that is the context of reality in which we are to take that expression to. But there's pain there. So the pressure to assert ourselves, to express ourselves, or assert the expression that's taking place at Leo Mars transit. It's showing pain, an impulse of pain at Aries. Because it keeps showing us where we have not prepared or created an environment, circumstances, conditions that allows us to realize ourselves in that full expression. We keep running back into the inadequacies, the lack of competence, the lack of recognition, the lack of support, the lack of respect, the abandonment, the rejection, everything that seems to go against us just for us wanting to be who we are and what we are, who and what we know we are. So it increases the pain. It only intensifies it. It only makes life that much more painful because the heart is willing. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Didn't Jesus say that? Right? So that's what's making the pain at Aries Chiron so intense at this point. It's that Mars passing through Leo. More so than that, we should be aware that Mars is in the last decan of Leo, the last 10 degrees. The last 10 degrees is Aries, Mars. So that Mars is heating up and intensifying the Aries expression to assert ourselves according to that identity and expression that's so unique and authentic to the heart of what we want to be. The heart soul urge is forcing us into full expression, but the pain won't let us get in position. We're not getting the support we need, the feedback. We don't feel like we know or have the facilitation, the information, the know-how. We don't feel the support behind our back. Whatever case it may be that's manifesting a sense of inadequacy, it is there. And it's getting louder and louder, more intense. It hurts. So this is a correlation between those two fire points. Leo and Aries. Leo and Aries are very related right now. They are working together right now, and it's building up to a point, right? So it's not just you who's walking around in that reality and that feeling. Understand that, okay? If you're feeling that way, it's not just you. It's normal. The last decan of Leo, that's a warrior, a very intense warrior. It is the one who puts their back against the wall and dares anybody to come and try me. I'm ready. But what that's going to end up doing is going to force us into a realization at that Aries point. Because the last decan of Leo rules Aries and Mars. So a realization is going to be forced at Chiron in Aries. Because as we motion for that intensification of expression and asserting of that heart, soul, urge expression, we're going to come back to what created the pain in the first place. And for that, we have to consult Chiron. What is the nature of Chiron as a centaur? What's the nature of Chiron as a centaur? As a centaur, the nature of Chiron is that there are passions within us. There's assertive nature within us. There's beastly instinct within us. Again, Chiron is a centaur, okay? Half beast, half man. This is the part of ourself where we have a crisis with gaining control, authority, and mastery over our lower nature, the root chakra. The impulse of the instinct. And this brings both Scorpio and Aries into the picture. It's a part of ourselves where we always feel entitled to give our strongest expression, our fiery reactions. It's where we do not apologize. We feel entitled to maximum force. It's a beastly instinct. So the crisis that's building up is tempting us to step back into that same behavior. That was part of the catalyst that resulted in rejection, competition, resentment, abandonment, disappointment. It's where we don't realize that we were a beast. We were animal-like. We were uncivilized. There were ways about us that we were acting through our instincts, but not our wisdom. It's where the wild horse was not tamed. But consider that picking a good horse, you don't want the one that's docile. You don't want the one that's weak. You want the wildest horse in the land. Because if you can tame that wild horse, you got a damn good horse. This is the perspective that we need to home in on. You're a damn good horse. You are wild. You are bold. You are fearless. You are ready to fight. You have the killer instinct. You take command. You take charge. You're passionate. You're full of fire. But if only we can tame it. If only we can gain mastery over that impulse, that instinct, that killer instinct in us. If only we can gain mastery over it. Taking charge and command of those forces, harnessing those forces through wisdom, through higher philosophy, introspect, compassion, understanding, forgiveness, where the assertive nature overcomes the aggressive nature. Now we're getting somewhere. So this is about the turning point of breaking the horse. We have been a wild horse at this part of our chart. Let me use myself as an example. Transparency, right? We all are the same in this. When I first started doing these YouTube messages, I was at a fork in the road with myself. And knowing that environments in New York City, where I'm from, and coming out of a 2-year stretch in a homeless situation in New York City as well, it gave me a temperament that I didn't realize I had until it was reflected off of the results I've been getting around me. I've been all over America as a union carpenter, brushing shoulders with a lot of talented and skilled men. A lot of these men are ex-convicts, family men, some professional, foreigners, people of all walks of life. But everywhere I went, that number one was always asserting itself, but through aggression. And I became someone who was like a wolf. From state to state, city to city, I learned how to take the food of other men. And what I mean by that is, I get dispatched to this city, to that city, this state, or that state. And you always find yourself working with different people you never even met before. But for me, I always felt like I had to be ahead. I had to be in the front. I had to be the leader. I had to be the one that's in charge. And I learned skills from my instincts and exactly how to do that. How to take the food from the leader. How to put him behind me. And it works in that environment among men. I don't apologize for that. But sometimes transferable skills have to be modified, or it can be very offensive. So in coming out of union projects across America, where you have to have that strength, you have to have that grit, you have to have that caliber of spirit, that alpha instinct, okay, to dominate the environment with men, especially strange men. I'll never let that go. I have to have that wolf. And it took me decades to learn that. However, there are some environments where that's not necessary, where you have to learn to turn that off. Because some environments, for example, let's say I go and I work with a local company on a local project. These are people who grew up with each other, who knew each other for decades. They're not travelers or journeymen all over the states. So they grow roots with each other, rapport. The environment is more friendly, relaxed, kind, civilized. But here I come into these little environments like a wild wolf. And I'm scaring everybody around me. But what's not good about that is, no matter how skilled or experienced I am, if people are scared of me, you're going to have a coup. You're going to have a revolt. They're all going to turn against you. And I found that that's the results that I got in some places of local communities as I'm a person coming from a big city, big environments, high profile projects, industrial, maritime, Navy ships, commercial, oil rigs, nuclear power plants. Yeah, I gotta have that spirit out there. But when it comes to certain opportunities in your life, if you don't learn how to civilize that wolf, how to civilize that or tame that horse, you're gonna blow a lot of blessings. So that night wolf New Yorker in me, I had to learn over the past few years how to adjust my attitude, how to adjust my temperament, how to master my delivery. And even on here, you can hear the same thing. There's some people who listen to my content who was with me as I went through at least 3 different channels. Each time I got up to about 500 subscribers, and then I ended the channel and I started another channel. And each time I got a little bit better with learning how to clean up my delivery, with learning how to speak more civilized. Because although I understand astrology, my intention in understanding astrology was for my own personal survival. But then I learned that it was good for me to share what I learned for myself. But if I'm going to share what I learned for myself, I have to learn to be less offensive, less painful, less evil, less dark. I have to come as a canine, but not a wolf. Understand? So it's been a hard journey for me to learn how to do that because I'm fiery, I'm hardcore, I'm tough as nails. I'm gritty as a thug. I don't apologize for that. I need those shadows. That's part of my shadow work. But what's also part of the shadow work is I have to learn to be the master of those shadows, and those shadows not the master of me. I have not been victorious with that yet, but I'm getting better. And there's some people out there who might be able to bear witness, okay, who's followed me through the many channels that I had, that even though my delivery is still gritty, it still needs more cleanup. It still needs more healing. I still need to add a little more kindness, a little more wisdom, a little more sensitivity. But there's some people out there who know that I mean well. But I can't use the excuse of I mean well without doing well. I have more to go. I have a long way to go. I can't say, oh, y'all supposed to know that I mean well. You're supposed to know that I'm sincere. I just talk like this. I just talk like that. No, I have to change. I have to evolve. I have to grow. I have to improve. I got to get better. I can't talk like a New Yorker everywhere I go. I can't talk like I'm straight out of Brooklyn everywhere I go. I can't talk like a street nigga everywhere I go. That's Chiron. That's the wild beast in me. That's the half man, half beast that I did need for survival. You put me in any gritty city, I'm good. I'm healthy. I could move through any dark place. That's the environment I'm good at navigating. But I'm not meant to stay there. I'm meant to go higher and farther. So I have to learn how to compromise between the dark and the light. I have to compromise between my wolf and my dove. Understand? So I'm just using myself as an example. The content that I have on here, I've come a long way with learning how to get a little more filtered. All right? And not hurt people's feelings or whatever. I was a mess when I first started. I'm still a mess. But I was worse in the channel that I had before this. And I was worse in the channel that I had before that. And I was worse in the channel that I had before that. But I am making progress. So I'm using myself humbly to show you that we all going through the same thing. And there's no shame in the shadow work. There's no shame as long as you're progressing, as long as you're trying. It's what I'm saying. That's part of the shadow work that goes with it. The shadows block your blessings. The shadows stifled your progress. It slowed you down. It got in your way. And then we projected and said, it's your fault. Because that guy, because that person, they stopped me, they blocked me, they hating on me, this and that. No, not really. It's not all their fault. Some of that is you. Some of that is you causing that temperament, causing that weather, igniting that fire. And this is where we realize the uncivilized parts of ourselves, the untamed instincts in us that so naturally flows out of us, it has to be tamed. Because if you could tame the wild horse, the wildest horse, once tamed, is the best horse. The most violent horse, once tamed, is the best horse. You want the horse that's the alpha, the most violent one, the strongest one. That's the horse you want. And you tame that nigga. Once you tame that nigga, you got a damn good horse. So look at yourself in that way. I'm going to look at myself in that way, and I need you to look at yourself in that way. We got to tame this horse. Because after that, there's opportunity, there's grace. Nothing has been lost, so don't think that way. Your experiences through the North Node, they are holograms of reality that we learn karmic lessons through. There is always grace as you learn. But once you learn, you must do what you know better than. Learn the obedience through the things that he suffered. Therefore, we have to show obedience to the things that we suffer. If we fail to show obedience to the things that we suffer, yes, that is when we have losses. But before you learn through the suffering, there is grace. There is no loss. There is only gain of the wisdom. And as the planets go round, new opportunity comes, and you realize that God can give you a generation in a day. Everything that you thought you lost, you could gain it all back in a day. That's how opportunity works. So focus on your growth, your transformation, and how you're trying to improve yourself, not on what you had to pass up. We're learning. And if we would have gotten certain things at certain times, we only would have blew it. We only would have ruined it. So I want us to notice that June 1st, when Venus and Chiron conjuncts, the moon is also going to have a conjunction with Mars at Aries. This is an amplification. Because what it does is, it's like a tube of toothpaste, all right? That moon at Mars is pushing the toothpaste up the tube. The toothpaste, which is, it's pushing the toothpaste, which is, let's say the toothpaste is expression. It's pushing that expression up that tube of toothpaste, all right? So that you can see what expression is in there and how you're going to express it at Chiron. And what you're going to do and what I'm going to do is you're going to express it the way that you usually do, like a wild horse. But through reflection of Venus, you're going to have the opportunity to see how this has been affecting Venus themes, which is relationships, the opportunities you have in relationships, and the opportunities you have in resources and finances. You're going to see how it's been affecting that. Because what Venus is going to show you is the options that you have, that you don't have to do it that way. And that's when the horse becomes tame. The horse starts to realize, hey, this guy ain't trying to kill me. He's on my back, riding me on my back, and I'm jumping and kicking and all this. They ain't trying to hurt me. They ain't trying to harm me. Okay, let me chill a little bit. Yeah, I'm good. I'm safe. Ain't nothing wrong. Yeah, everybody's fine. The perspective is going to change through the power of Venus. Now, what this is it's a portal. It's a portal. This is where, okay, the healing takes place, or the taming of our nature takes place just before Jupiter enters Cancer. So what does this tell you? All right? When Mars was going through Cancer, it was a war zone. The very places and the people where you were seeking to get emotional validation, emotional security and feedback, comfort, nurturing, advocacy, a sense of belonging. It was a war zone. It was all turned against you. And we realized it was coming from us. And the healing that we had to do with our mother and the nurturers early on in our life. So we had to practice forgiveness. But now that we're tamed at that point, we will see the opportunity in those same relationships coming down the ladder or going up the ladder, whichever way. We will see the opportunity in those same relationships. Because now you go back to those same relationships as a tamed horse. And what happens then? People start to trust you more. They open up more. They show you a side of themselves that's vulnerable. They feel safer around you. They open up and they get involved. They share their graces. They share their gifts. Because when people are scared around you and nervous because of this untamed aspect of the self, you could get compliance, but you can't get the gift. Aries is where we show leadership. But if we're leading from an uncivilized impulse of ourself, the people who we're leading, they're in a spirit of fear. And that spirit of fear, it causes them to withhold their gifts. And they give you what you're demanding, or they'll reject you. But once trust and rapport can be there, because you're coming from a healed spirit of yourself, they give you their gifts. They open the gifts up to you. And when people open up their gifts to you, everything and anything is possible. There's abundance, reciprocation, participation, cooperation, mutual benefit. The opportunity is abundant. The creativity expands. And all of this that I'm describing goes with Jupiter. So the same places where we was having these emotional wars and righteous anger, Jupiter comes back over that and walks the healed person, the tame horse, back down the same territory. And what used to look like hell now looks like heaven. What used to be misery is now heavenly. And it all came because we were able to heal. We allowed ourselves to heal. Understand that. So this will take place as Jupiter goes through Cancer. But the preparation for that, the taming of the horse, when Venus conjuncts Chiron, where we no longer will feel like we're locked outside the gate because of our behavior, because of our delivery, because of the spirit and attitude and energy that we're carrying in that leadership. Understand, leading by influence and assertiveness, not aggression and overbearance. Understand. So, if you look at the image that I have here, you have Isis or Venus, who begets Horus. And Horus is a resurrection of his father, Osiris. Okay, that's a resurrection of the heart. which before the resurrection is Pluto, the ego, okay? So the ego dies so that the heart can live in its fullest expression, which is the sun in action through Mars. That is Horus, okay? So Horus represents the sun conjunct Mars, or Leo Mars, but its origin is from the husband of Isis, Horus, representing Pluto, the death of the ego, facing the moment of disillusionment, the resilience to face truth and adjust according to the truth, letting oneself die so that the heart can relive in its most appropriate expression. Okay? So when we look at the relationship between Isis and Horus, this manifests the number 9 Hermit card, which we have the number 9 Hermit card at the South Node as Virgo. Okay? That is the process of transforming isolation into solitude. The isolation that we created from the untamed and uncivilized behaviors in ourselves and the unhealed drama, emotional drama and righteous anger through the Cancer Mars transit, this created a reality of isolation. Those 2 points. And the isolation was opportunity for us to get in touch with the inner self. It caused an ego death. So Osiris had to be the sacrifice, or the ego had to be the sacrifice through Pluto Aquarius transit of realizing, if I'm going to innovate the infrastructure of my life and how I realize I have to move forward in a different way, something has to give. So what is the sacrificial value or price? What's the sacrificial ram? Okay, Aries. What's the sacrificial ram? Aries. Okay, the false identity, the unevolved identity, the stalemate identity, right? The untamed horse. We got in touch with the inner self to realize that these things had to take place. Some changes have to take place within the self if we are going to outlive the circumstances, if we are going to outlive the death of the infrastructure of the old, which was Capricorn Pluto. If we're going to survive into Aquarius Pluto, we have to resurrect to get there. Okay, so this is the death of Osiris, which resurrects itself through Horus on behalf by the benevolent opportunity of Isis or Venus, which begets Horus, okay, which is the expression of the heart soul urge, the sun, Leo, through Mars, okay? Horus representing Mars. And where is Mars at? Leo. Okay, that's Horus. That's Horus. But the combination of this relationship of mother and son, Isis and Horus, yes, that's the number 9 Virgo process. Because the result, the outcome of the number 9 Hermit card process is the rebirth of the self by tuning in with the self, getting to the authentic nature of the self. Acting through the internal messaging of the self and not the noise of the outer world. It now becomes solitude instead of isolation, because that's when we embrace being alone. We see that it is a way to recharge, it's a way to regenerate, it's a way to meditate and home in on divine voice, divine mother. It's a way to realize our compass, our oracle, the high priestess within, the wise man within, the green lantern. zeroing in on the heart space, consulting the self for the truth and for the way forward, and how to move and how not to move, what to do, what are the limitations, the do's and don'ts. This also brings into play the authority of Saturn. This is when we become mature, evolved, godlike. We rebirth ourselves. We are reborn through that process. South Node Virgo. South Node Virgo manifests number 9. And we know that number 9 by now, it works against what? The detriment of Venus. Thank you. Not putting ourselves in a bind through addictions, distractions, things that glitter and shine, superficiality, the futile attachments that we have to material things, status, that which has nothing to do with our life purpose, our life mission, taking us away from our destiny for ego trips or fear or guilt. These toxic impulses were being dealt with and addressed from the Saturn transit of Pisces. The Saturn transit of Pisces is a concentration in isolation. It is bringing karmic opportunity to realize our power to transform isolation into solitude. Now that we have the ability to subject ourselves to solitude, we now have root, we now have home, we now have chamber, we now have source, we now have the home base. And this cures loneliness. It cures desperation for acceptance of others. It cures the need for the validation of others. It cures the need to seek others for a sense of love, nurturing, acceptance, happiness, joy, or whichever else. Isolation begets all of these fruits. When we transform isolation into solitude, it begets all of these fruits. That solitude, we can go to that solitude to always get what we otherwise would sell our soul for. So instead of selling the soul, you now have learned how to embrace isolation as solitude. And as long as you have solitude, you will never become desperate. As long as you realize solitude, you will never become desperate. But if being alone is isolation to you, you still have the impulse to become desperate, to sell your soul. Addicted to validation, clinging and attaching to others, power struggles, making others obligated to making you happy and feel secure, and so on and so forth. That's how you get into all of that. So look at the opportunity at hand. Everything is working together. Now, all of this is a story of rebirth and victory through healing of the identity. Seth, who ended up killing Horus, while Horus was resurrected by the power of Isis, reborn. Osiris was resurrected by the power of Isis, reborn as Horus. Okay, this is rebirth of the sun through Pluto's power. Okay, this brings us back to why we have Black Moon Lilith and Juno at Scorpio right now, as well as Vesta, keeping the entire process sacred, holy, and sincere. Okay? Why? Because we are at that turning point. We are at this story unfolding in our own life, where a death is necessary. That Scorpio, Black Moon Lilith, Vesta, and Juno, it is the part of you that represents Osiris. Once we kill the ego that is attached to the lower nature that wanted to express itself through aggression rather than assertion, attachments rather than connections, control rather than cooperation, understand, dictatorship and domination instead of wisdom and compromise, we would forever be under the control of Set, which is the chaotic mind, represented by Mercury, okay? This is the shadow of Mercury. Of course, the illumination of Mercury would be Thoth, okay? That would be the illumination of Mercury would be Thoth. But the shadow of Mercury would be Set, the chaotic mind, okay? The scattered mind that doesn't understand the meaning, the context, the wisdom behind this karmic reality that's here to teach us. The ego had to die to that chaos. It's the only way to be set free from that chaotic state of mind. See, we are still at the power of Set. And as long as this stellium is in Scorpio of Black Moon Lilith, Vesta, and Juno, we are still in the process of Osiris's death and resurrection. His resurrection will come through Sagittarius. So we're still at the dying process of Osiris. And the specific details of what that looks like for every one of us individually would be Aquarius-Pluto transit. That indicates how we have to die so that we could let go of the scattered mind that cannot read the new reality while attached through the ego to the old reality, left in full chaos and confusion. So that is Set still in control of Osiris. But once Osiris has his voluntary death, this is when we can let go of the chaos that comes with it, of that old world, where we're still waiting to get something out of the gumball machine. We're still waiting for something to come out of the pipe. We're still anticipating what more we could get out of it. But it's time to go. It's time to move on. It's time to transform. It's time to die so that the resurrection can take place. Once that does, that is the rebirth of Osiris through Horus, which is the assertive expression of the sun, the assertive expression of the self through Mars. Thus, Osiris living again. So Osiris outlives Set through this resurrection. And that's on behalf of Venus. And this is where Venus is. Venus is who she is against number 9. Okay? So the South Node, Virgo, is wielding number 9 from the South Node. Okay? So what that does is it works against the detriment of Venus. But when 9 is working against the detriment of Venus, that is the 9 vibration at the South Node, it manifests Isis. Okay? It manifests Isis. So this is a unique expression of Venus. And this is only in the context of Virgo. When Virgo has influence to Venus, that is what manifests the expression of Isis, who is an essential element to the resurrection of the heart-soul expression into its full assertive capacity through ego death, which leaves behind the scattered and chaotic mind of Mercury. Now clarity comes in. And where do we see that at? Okay, Thursday, Friday, which will be the 29th and the 30th. This is when the sun conjuncts Mercury. When the sun conjuncts Mercury, that is the rebirth of the mind. It's the renewal of the mind, because the sun is lending clarity and revitalization to the mind, scattering the confusion and chaos. Okay? So this takes place, however, before that we have the Venus and Chiron conjunction, which lets us know that the death of Osiris takes place, but the resurrection is still a process. You see? So at that point, how we relate to Mercury is no longer chaos, because the death of the ego already took place. And what does that do? It puts you in the spirit of humility. Okay? The Chiron Aries transit, it gives us humility in the identity. When we have humility in the identity, the ego is no longer in the way. The opportunity is to absorb and learn that which accelerates and promotes the highest expressions of that algorithm. So the Sun conjunct Mercury is a point of clarity. It's a beginning of clarity that we will have in the mind as a result of the ego death through all of these processes. And when that clarity works hand in hand with the conjunction of Venus and Chiron, that's a new beginning. And that's the point where the Scorpio process that we have going on, it becomes that much more productive. Because now we're able to see what's happening to us. Now we're able to comprehend what we're going through. Now we know the meaning of what we just passed through. And we can understand, obviously, how this all relates to the new moon Gemini, which Mercury rules Gemini. Mercury also rules Virgo, which is a south node. And I just, explained the details of the south node, of course. Virgo, number 9, and number 22. Please ask questions below if something sounds confusing, so we could catch you up. Make sure you ask questions if something does not sound clear. Okay? Feel free to ask questions. So, clarity is coming, hope is coming, understanding is coming. The context of why you had to go through what you went through, it's coming. Be patient, endure, and take value in the spirit of humility that comes with what seems like defeat, but really it's a reset, it's a rebirth, it's a being reborn of the self. It's part of how empowerment begins all over again. Because if it doesn't take place, then when you go on to create what it is that you create, it's only subject to fall. It's only subject to that much more pain and disappointment. But this preparation allows us to not have to go through that because of what we're learning. Rebirth and victory is here. Through the healing of the identity, Mercury conjunct the Sun, Set, the chaotic mind, now bows out to Thoth. Okay? Because once Mercury as Set lets go of Osiris through overcoming Osiris and the ego death, Mercury now lends itself as Thoth when it conjuncts the Sun, because now we have illumination of Mercury. We have new marching orders. We're in the illumination of Mercury, so now it's Thoth, not Seth. Now we have the mind of Thoth, not Seth. It does away with the confusion. And resurrection is a process. It is a birth, okay? Horus had to be born. There's a 9-month process of Black Moon Lilith going through Scorpio at the South Node. How many months does it take to birth the baby? It takes 9 months Okay? It takes 9 months to birth the baby. We are 2 months in. 7 more months. Okay? So that 9-month process of birthing Horus, we're still in it. Patience is required. But the death already took place. Therefore, the initiation of the rebirth has already taken place as well at the same time. However, we have the Thoth Mercury expression that has died out to the Set Mercury expression. Understand that. And the sacrifice was Osiris, the eagle that we had so much confidence in. But it was misled by Venus. South Node Libra in the rear view. Now we have at the South Node Virgo, the true and sincere connection to the heart, the number 9 vibration, the voice of God, the heart soul urge expression, giving direct orders and oracle to the reality. Understand? Questions, comments, concerns, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share. When you hit the like button, it shows support. When you share, it shows support. When you comment, you stimulate the algorithm. You know what I mean? It's nice to enjoy freebies. But what does that say about you when you just take freebie after freebie after freebie, but you can't give back in a form of a like? You can't give back in a form of a comment. You can't give back in a form of sharing and subscribing. That's the least that you could do for a public service that you do not have to pay for. You just hit the play button and you listen. But don't be a piece of shit who doesn't practice community. If you take, give. Because I'm not up here with Cash App symbols on my videos. I'm not up here with PayPal symbols on my videos. What does that say about you? If you take, but in the most simple forms, you cannot give back. What does that say about you?